Earlier this year, insurance business was here at the BIBA Conference 2026 to ask the industry's biggest questions to insurers, brokers, MGAs, associations and more. In this edition, we ask, how is the rise of MGAs affecting the wider insurance ecosystem?
I think, where it's changing and where it's changing for the good is the ability to bring products to market far quicker than ever before. So insurers are deploying capital to increasing number of insurers are employing capital to MGAs, and that allows MGAs who have a fantastic relationship with brokers who understand their clients to meet and provide emerging product risks. So things in climate change, is one particular area, life sciences. So the ability for MGAs in terms of changing the landscape by bringing cutting edge products supported by cutting edge technology is where it's changing, where they're changing the landscape. And that's to the benefit ultimately of end customers. And that's what we're all here to do.
I think the biggest thing with MGAs now is that they are a sort of recognised part of the infrastructure. The biggest shift for me is that they become more embedded as that infrastructure rather than as a separate partner. So, and I think one of the drivers in that is technology, which brings greater connectivity between MGA and insurer, but also data also changes that relationship as well. I think what it means is that in real time, MGAs have to be able to show performance and credibility and discipline and governance. The old model was sort of more arm's length delegation and just scale for growth. Whereas now I think I'd call it scale for credibility rather than scale for growth.
MGAs are definitely on the rise, and it's a good thing. They're a key part of the insurance industry. As well as bringing great service, which perhaps the old school insurance industry doesn't do so well anymore, what they also bring is the niche products to market. A cover drone, we can trace our roots back to 2007 when drones were first being imported to the UK. And the key there is you build up the knowledge, you build up the relationship with the underwriters to get the capacity and start underwriting the risks and handling the claims. But it's a rapidly growing industry now. It's not just media clients, surveyors that are using drones. You see it in construction, you see it in medical, logistics. It's coming into every part. We've been working with the government, also sitting down with the Civil Aviation Authority, where they're going to continue to relax the laws so that drones will become a bigger part of our lives. And it's an MGA that is able to bring the insurance product to the market, whereas I think the traditional aviation sector would struggle because it's just a different setup structure for planes and helicopters. Drones are used by the general public, small businesses. It's a different operation.
I think it's one of the biggest structural shifts over the past decade. I think what you're seeing is an unbundling of the traditional insurance value chain, where traditional carriers are finding themselves providing the risk capital, and MGAs are now kind of taking the lead on underwriting discipline, product innovation, and being the entity that's closer to the end client. So what you're seeing in that unbundling, though, is a more fragmented system, but one that's more innovative.
So I think over the last 20 years since I've been involved in MGAs, the numbers have jumped dramatically. I think we've started to see alternative forms of capital coming into the market. So traditionally, insurers would have given MGAs capacity. Now we're seeing vehicles specifically set up to provide MGAs with capital, and we're seeing reinsurers jump over that even to provide capital. So the MGAs are an incredibly important part and a growing part of the UK GI sector. And I think that that's speeding up innovation and speeding up, again, that end user's ability to access really insurance that's really important for their needs.
So I love MGAs, but I love insurers too. And I think what we're seeing is a real difference between insurers who are trying to be efficient and speedy to provide responses, but that means they have to write within a box because that's the only way you can do some of that. And MGAs are always going to try and write outside the box. So between us, we are going to meet customer needs differently, but we're going to be able to help insurers by doing, from an MGA point of view, by doing the things that they can't necessarily do in their own ecosystem, by doing it in ours. And that will mean we'll have better solutions for customers.
So we've been in the market for over 20 years, and I think that the role of an MGA is to be that steady point of contact for those niche, for us, niche property. So each MGA will have their own niche, but I think we've got to be specialists in those and not compete with the wider market, the composites. And that's exactly what we do. We support our brokers with complex non-standard property risks.
So I think MGAs bring choice and options to the more traditional placement markets that exist in, out there, and I think a good MGA should always be looking to add value, and that could be through product expertise, distribution, technology, of course, but ultimately performance, and I think they're very entrepreneurial by nature, in my experience, and the best MGAs are looking to probably be disruptive and do something a little bit different to what is traditionally out there. So
I think the rise of MGA is really interesting. I think there's a change, if you like, for insurers around letting go of the underwriting risk and the pen going towards the MGAs. But I think whether there's a shift in talent in terms of expertise going from maybe some of the larger insurers to more nimble and agile MGAs, and actually there's a role for underwriters in that ecosystem, I think that's changing the landscape a bit. I think it becomes a really interesting area for insurers to develop, as well as the MGAs growing, as a sort of maybe the pool of talent shifts and the expertise shifts as well.
So it's changing by adding more choice. It's adding more choice for brokers. MGAs are dealing in niches and specialisms, and they'll continue to do that. They're uniquely positioned to innovate in their sector, blend risk appetite, and offer more products.
I think the rise of the MGAs is changing the insurance ecosystem by keeping it honest. I think competition is good. It drives better behaviours, it drives better outcomes. MGAs are doing things well with their service, and I think that's just giving better customer outcomes all round.
Yeah, so the rise of the MGAs is helping lots of parts of the market, such as brokers today, who saw capacity dwindle post-COVID. So that has helped because they work in various niche markets, and they work as hard as brokers for their capacity. So it's a very good marriage that works within there. They can also hinder brokers as well because they have direct-to-consumer products, and they also behave like brokers in their approach to customers. And as I said before, keeping their capacity happy by delivering great results.